Researchers looked into the way that slow motion video can impact the way jurors decide on a case. In fact, the researchers thought, hey, maybe slow motion videos actually lead to an unfavorable ruling toward the defendant. So let me give you the details. Researchers at the University of Chicago, University of San Francisco, and University of Virginia argue that slow motion replays can give viewers the false impression that the actor had more time to premeditate before acting. So what they did is they had a group of respondents. They found these people from Mechanical Turk, which basically provides respondents to surveys and studies. But there are some issues with the sampling, okay? They've gotten criticized for the sampling not being representative enough. So that's the caveat you should keep in mind. However, they were shown surveillance footage of either an attempted robbery in which the assailant shot the store worker or an NFL player performing a banned tackle. Participants were shown the videos both at regular speed and in slow motion. So then they were asked to play the role of jurors, right, in these two cases. Here's what the researchers found. Watching the slow motion footage quadrupled the odds that jurors would begin the deliberation phase ready to convict, the researchers write.
Wow.
Those who watched the clip at this speed were more likely to conclude that there was a willful intention to kill.
So that is pretty impressive evidence. And so I wouldn't have imagined that there would be that kind of a bias. But now that researchers have shown that, I'm not saying that this one piece of research is the end-all, be-all, but that is pretty strong evidence. Then if I'm a judge, I take that into consideration. I would want every judge in the country to look at this and be mindful of it. And super anecdotally, I mean, you don't need my anecdote because there's the research on it, but I know that whenever they slow down a hit in an NFL game I'm watching, it appears to be more egregious than if you watched it at regular speed. Because at regular speed, it looks like humans that have just made a snap judgment and boom, the play is over. And you're like, wait, did he mean it? Did he care? But they slow it down and it's like, and it seems like he's more leading with his helmet, etc. But there's an argument to be made that that intention can be better ascertained if you slow it down. Mm-hmm. So it happened so fast I couldn't really tell. But then if you see him put his head down in the slow motion to spear with his helmet, then you might be able to determine better.
Yeah, I mean, it really, I think it depends on a case-by-case basis, because you're right. If there is a particular form of body language that you can find through the slow motion video, then you can prove, okay, well, there was some intent there because he did X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm more concerned about is, when slow motion makes it seem like the whole thing took longer, like the whole process, the whole criminal action took longer, and maybe that's subconsciously having an impact on whether or not people think it was premeditated.
Definitely, yeah. I totally get that too. And so that's really the heart of the problem here, is that if it looks like he's taking the gun out and, and then shoots him, instead of like, oh shit, right? Oh shit, seems like it wasn't necessarily willful.
It was an impulse.
Right, whereas if it looks like it's taking 12 seconds for him to take the gun out, that would give him time to reflect on it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's an unconscious reaction we're having because we know that it's in slow motion, but your brain is registering it as, well, that looks willful because it's taking such a long time. So you should just, knowing the research, be very, very careful about the bias that either a jury might have or you even as a judge might have because it's a subconscious reaction we're all having.